The great hall of the Galactic Council was alive with sound. Dozens of alien races filled the rows of seats that circled the center platform. Some whispered in their strange languages, others clicked or hummed, and some just sat quietly, watching. Everything with unblinking eyes. The air shimmered with colors and faint lights. Signs of alien technology at work. In the middle of it all, a group of humans stood waiting. Claire Morgan, the ambassador from Earth, wore a simple grey suit. Her hair was tied back neatly, and she stood with her hands folded in front of her. Next to her were two human guards, Ethan Cole and Laura Smith. They both wore dark uniforms and heavy boots. Their faces were calm and serious, and, most importantly, they carried no weapons. The counselors noticed this right away. Their whispers grew louder. "Look," one alien hissed to another, its skin flashing blue with suspicion. "No guns, no blades, nothing. Just two soft-bodied mammals standing there like they are safe." "Arrogance," another answered. "Humans think they are untouchable." Above the platform, a loud chime sounded, and the noise in the room stopped. A tall alien floated into the center. It was the High Speaker of the Council, a being called Vryn, whose body was a transparent bubble of liquid and light. Its voice echoed softly but filled the whole chamber. "Ambassador Morgan," Vryn said, "humanity has been summoned to explain itself. The Council grows concerned about your expansion. Your colonies spread faster than any species in recorded history. Your fleets arrive at worlds without warning, yet you claim to seek peace. Today, we wish to understand your intentions." Claire nodded politely. She stepped forward and spoke in a clear voice. "High Speaker, Councillors, humanity thanks you for this chance to speak. We do indeed expand quickly. That is because we come from a world that taught us to move, to adapt, and to never stop learning. But we are here today in peace. We wish only to take our place among you with respect." A murmur rose from the council. Some sounded impressed. Others clearly did not believe her. One councillor, a tall and spindly creature with 6 arms, stood and pointed one of its long fingers at Claire. "If you seek peace, Ambassador," it said sharply, "why do you bring guards at all, and why? Do you insult this council by bringing them unarmed? Do you think we are weak? Or do you mean to show that humans fear nothing here?" Claire turned her head slightly toward Ethan and Laura. They stood silently, looking straight ahead, not reacting to the insult. She looked back at the 6-armed counselor and answered calmly, "We bring guards because it is our custom. We bring them unarmed because that is also our custom. We trust them, and we trust the council enough not to point weapons at anyone in this hall." Her words hung in the air. For a few seconds, no one spoke. Then laughter broke out from a group of armored aliens seated near the back. Their leader, a large and muscular warrior with horns curling from his head, stood and growled. "Humans are fools," he said loudly. "This is no place for trust. This is a place of power. You bring these 2 fragile guards without weapons, and you dare to say they can protect you. How do they plan to stop an attack? With their bare hands?" A few more councillors laughed. Others shook their heads. Claire only smiled faintly and answered, "Yes, if they have to." That made the room go quiet again. The warrior snorted and sat down, muttering something under his breath. Another voice spoke, this one softer, but full of curiosity. It came from a small insect-like creature seated near the front. "But Ambassador, why? Why would humans send unarmed protectors to a place where many bring armies. It makes no sense to us. Claire glanced at Ethan and Laura again. Laura finally looked at the crowd and said in a steady voice, "We do what is needed. We are not afraid of weapons because we are the weapons." More whispers, more confusion. The high speaker raised its glowing arms to calm the room. "We will hear more of this later," Vryn said. "For now, let the humans speak their full case." Claire nodded again, but she could feel the weight of all those eyes on her and her two guards. She could feel their disbelief, their fear, and their anger. She knew many of them thought humans were arrogant, or reckless, or even stupid. But she also knew they did not understand. Not yet. Behind her, Ethan and Laura stood perfectly still. Their breathing was slow. Their eyes never stopped moving. They scanned every corner of the hall, every shadow, every small movement in the crowd. They were ready too, the aliens. They might have looked calm and harmless. But Claire knew better. She knew what Ethan and Laura could do if the time came. She had seen them train, seen them fight, and seen what happened when someone underestimated them, and she could see now that the council was underestimating them. The chime sounded again. Vryn spoke once more. "Ambassador Morgan, the council requests that you remain here overnight. Tomorrow we will convene again to ask you more questions. Until then, you and your guards may retire to the human quarters." Claire bowed slightly. "Of course, High Speaker. We thank the council for its time." She turned and led Ethan and Laura out of the chamber. The murmurs followed them as they walked down the long silver hallway toward their assigned rooms. After a while, Laura finally spoke in a quiet voice meant only for Claire and Ethan. "They think we're just standing here looking pretty," she said with a faint smirk. Ethan nodded. "Let them think that," he replied. Claire allowed herself a small smile. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "they'll start to understand." The next morning, the human delegation woke early. The sun of Orvos Prime shone through the tall glass walls of the human quarters. Soft blue light filled the room as the city outside began to move. Strange ships floated in the sky, and creatures of all kinds walked the streets below. Claire Morgan stood by the window for a long time, watching. She was thinking about the council and the way they had looked at her yesterday. She knew they were confused. She also knew they were afraid, though most of them did not want to admit it behind her. Ethan and Laura were checking their uniforms. Laura tied her dark hair back into a tight braid. Ethan adjusted the collar of his jacket. They spoke very little. They didn't need to. A soft tone rang through the room, and a small panel on the wall lit up. A message appeared. "The council awaits your presence. Please proceed to the grand chamber." Claire turned to her guards. "Are you ready?" Ethan gave a small nod. "Always." Laura smiled faintly. "Let's give them what they're waiting for." The three of them left the room and walked down the long hallway toward the grand chamber. Alien attendants watched them pass. Some stared at the unarmed guards with open curiosity. Others quickly looked away when Ethan's or Laura's eyes met theirs. When they reached the great doors of the chamber, two towering guards from the council's own security force stepped aside to let them through. The doors opened slowly, and the humans stepped into the massive room. This time, the chamber was even more crowded than yesterday. Word had spread of the humans' strange behavior and their strange guards. More delegates had come to watch. The air was heavy with whispers and bright with alien light. Claire walked calmly to the center of the platform. Ethan and Laura followed, standing just behind her, one on each side. Their faces were still, their eyes sharp, The high speaker, Vryn, floated forward, glowing faintly. Its many voices spoke at once, soft but clear. Ambassador Morgan, today the Council requests answers. Your people bring these guards to every meeting. They carry no weapons, yet you claim they can protect you. Explain this. How can two unarmed humans stand against the weapons and warriors of this council? Do you believe you are superior to us? Claire met Vryn's shining gaze without flinching. We do not believe we are superior, she said simply, but we do believe in our own strength. We have learned to trust what we can do with our own hands, our own minds, and our own bodies. We bring these guards not to insult you, but to remind ourselves of what we are capable of. An alien delegate, with long silver horns, stood and spoke in a sharp tone. Pretty words, it said, but we do not believe you. Words do not stop blades or blasters. Prove it. Prove your claim here, today. The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to Claire. Claire glanced back at Ethan and Laura. Then she looked at the horned delegate. Very well, she said. How would you like us to prove it? The delegate raised one clawed hand and pointed toward the arena, a circle of polished stone at the edge of the chamber. There, it said, let your guards face our warriors, armed or unarmed, as you wish. Show us what humans can do. Claire turned to Vryn, who gave a slow nod. The council approves this test, Vryn said. Will your guards agree to this challenge? Ethan stepped forward at last. His voice was calm and even. We accept. Laura only nodded. The council buzzed with excitement. Attendants moved quickly to prepare the arena. Armed guards from the council's security force entered the circle, wearing armor and carrying energy blades and shields. They stood ready, their movements sharp and confident. Ethan and Laura walked to the center of the arena. They wore no armor, no protection. Their boots echoed softly on the stone. The alien crowd grew quiet, waiting to see what would happen. A loud chime rang out. The test began. One of the alien warriors rushed forward at once, swinging his blade. Ethan stepped aside smoothly, letting the blade pass harmlessly. In one motion, he caught the alien's arm and twisted, sending the warrior crashing to the ground. The blade clattered away. Another warrior lunged at Laura. She ducked. The next day, the air in the council chamber felt different. The delegates sat more quietly now. Their whispers were softer, but their eyes stayed on the humans. The story of the fight had already spread beyond the chamber. Even in the streets, outside, people were talking about it. Humans, small and unarmed, had defeated the council's best warriors without much effort. Claire Morgan stood at the center of the platform again, just as calm as before. Behind her, Ethan and Laura stood at her sides, watching everything. This time, no one laughed. No one called the humans foolish. The high speaker Vryn floated closer. Its body glowed faintly, but its voice was heavier now, slower, as if weighed down by thought. Ambassador Morgan, Vryn said, you have shown us that humans can defend themselves. But now we ask a harder question. Why do you train your people to fight this way? Why do you become weapons yourselves when you could simply use machines? Your kind could have built better weapons than even ours, yet you choose this path. Why? Claire looked around the chamber. Many alien eyes stared back at her. She could feel their curiosity, but she also felt something else, fear, and maybe even respect. She spoke clearly so everyone could hear. We train ourselves this way because it is who we are. We come from a world that was never kind to us. For thousands of years, we lived among storms, wild beasts, hunger, and war. We learned to use tools, yes, but we also learned to trust our bodies, our instincts, our discipline. We believe that if you cannot protect yourself without a weapon, then you are not truly strong. A delegate with bright feathers on its head stood and spoke loudly. But that is foolish, it said. Why rely on flesh when metal is stronger? Why rely on thought when computers are faster? Claire answered calmly, because metal breaks, computers fail, but the human will endures. The chamber was quiet after that. Even the feathered delegate sat back down without another word. Then the horned warrior from before stood slowly. His armor still bore faint marks from the fight yesterday. His deep voice rumbled through the hall. Humans, he said, you have proved you can fight. You have proved you are dangerous. But you have not proved you can be trusted. How can we believe that creatures as deadly as you truly seek peace? Claire looked at him for a long moment before she answered. We seek peace because we know what war costs, she said. We have fought enough wars on our own world to understand that peace is better. But make no mistake, if war comes to us, we are ready. The warrior stared at her for a moment, then nodded slowly and sat down again. The high speaker Vrin's light flickered softly. Ambassador Morgan, Vrin said, there are some who still doubt. Perhaps we need one more proof. Will your guards agree to another test? A harder one this time. They will face an elite squad trained in both weapons and psychic force. They will not hold back. Will your humans still stand? Claire turned to Ethan and Laura. Neither of them looked surprised. Laura gave a small shrug. Ethan simply said, we're ready. Claire nodded to Vrin. We accept, she said. The chamber's floor shifted with a low hum. A section of it sank down, revealing another arena below, larger than the last. Lights flickered on, and a dozen alien warriors entered, each taller and heavier than the last group. They carried weapons, but their eyes glowed faintly, a sign of psychic training. The crowd leaned forward, eager to see what would happen this time. Ethan and Laura stepped into the arena. They stood side by side, silent and calm. A chime sounded. The test began at once. The first two warriors rushed forward, but this time the air shimmered round them as their minds reached out, trying to crush the humans with psychic force. Laura ducked low, avoiding a blade, and rolled forward, knocking her opponent off balance. Ethan's eyes narrowed as the pressure hit his mind, but he gritted his teeth and kept moving. He caught the wrist of one warrior, twisted it hard, and flipped him onto his back. A psychic wave swept across the floor, strong enough to make stones crack. Laura stumbled but caught herself. She moved faster now, closing the distance before the next warrior could gather his strength. She struck with precision, sending him sprawling. One by one, the alien warriors fell. Their weapons clattered to the ground. Their psychic attacks faltered as they grew tired and confused. Ethan and Laura kept moving, never stopping, never slowing. Within 5 minutes, the arena was silent. The human guards stood in the middle, breathing steadily, surrounded by defeated warriors. The crowd erupted into shocked murmurs. Some delegates stood, some even clapped, though quietly. Claire stepped forward to the edge of the arena and spoke once more. This is why we bring unarmed guards. They carry no weapons because they are already everything they need to be. We bring them because they remind us, and you, that peace is a choice, but strength is a necessity. The high speaker floated forward, its glow brighter now. Humanity, it said, you have answered our questions with action. The Council sees now that you are unique. You have earned our respect, and perhaps, in time, our trust. Claire gave a small bow. Thank you, High Speaker. Humanity only wishes to stand among you as equals. The councillors watched as the humans left the arena, their quiet steps echoing on the smooth asterisk stone. No one laughed this time. No one doubted now that the humans had earned their place. Asterisk, the humans did not leave the arena right away. After the fight, the alien warriors who had been defeated were still lying on the stone floor, trying to sit up. Some looked confused, others angry, but none of them spoke. Ethan and Laura stood quietly, waiting. They were ready if another challenge came, but no one moved toward them. Claire Morgan watched from the edge of the arena. She could see the councillors whispering to each other, in their seats above. Their voices were low and tense. Some of them leaned close to their neighbors. Others simply stared down at the humans, their eyes wide and shining in the strange alien light. Finally, the high speaker Vryn floated forward again. Its glow was softer now, almost thoughtful. Ambassador Morgan, Vryn said, you and your guards have shown great skill. You have shown control as well. You could have killed, but you did not. This council has much to think about. Claire bowed her head slightly. We thank you, High Speaker, she said. Humanity believes in peace, but we also believe in being prepared. The tall horned warrior from the day before stood slowly. His armor was scratched from yesterday's fight. He looked at Ethan and Laura for a long time before speaking. You fight like predators, he said. His voice was low but carried across the chamber. You move without fear. You strike without hesitation. And yet, you stop before. You kill, why? Laura looked up at him and answered in a calm, clear voice. Because we don't fight for pride, she said. We don't fight to hurt. We fight to protect. The horned warrior narrowed his eyes but gave a slow nod. He sat down again without another word. The council chamber was quiet for a moment. Then another delegate spoke. This one was small and round, with many thin arms. Its voice was high and sharp. Humans, it said, you say you fight to protect. But how can the rest of us feel safe when we see what you can do? How can we trust that you will not turn that strength against us? Claire met the delegate's gaze. Because, she said softly, you already have. You've already seen that we can fight. And yet, even when you attacked us in this arena, even when you tried to crush us with your strongest weapons and powers, we stopped short. We didn't harm more than necessary. If we wanted to hurt you, we already could have. There was no reply to that. The small delegate looked down at its many hands. Vryn floated higher, its glow brightening again. Ambassador, it said, we see now what humanity brings to this council, but we also see danger in your ways. Your species is unpredictable, adaptable. You cannot deny this. Claire nodded slowly. We don't deny it, she said. Humans are unpredictable. But that is why we survive. That is why we came so far, even from a single small world. That is why we are here today. There was another long silence. The councillors whispered again, but this time their words were softer. Some of them even nodded. Vrin turned slightly. Addressing the whole chamber now, the council will take one standard day to discuss and decide, it said. Until then, the humans will remain our guests. No further tests or questions. The chamber began to empty after that. The alien delegates filed out slowly, many of them still glancing back at the humans. Some looked uneasy. A few even looked impressed. Claire, Ethan, and Laura walked back through the long silver hallways to their quarters. When the doors closed behind them, Laura finally let out a small laugh. "They didn't expect that," she said. Ethan gave her a faint smile. "They still don't know what to think." Claire sat down by the window, looking out at the city. Alien ships moved through the air like bright fish. Crowds below still bustled around the streets. "They're afraid of us," Claire said quietly. Laura tilted her head. "Maybe that's a good thing," she said. Claire shook her head. "No, fear can turn into hate. We don't want them to hate us. We want them to understand." Ethan leaned against the wall, crossing his arms. "We showed them control," he said. "That's all we can do. The rest is up to them." Claire didn't answer right away. She watched as a line of council guards marched across a bridge outside, their weapons glowing faintly. "When I was a child," she said softly, "I saw my first human soldiers training. They moved so fast, so precise. They weren't just strong, they were disciplined." The next morning came quickly. Soft golden light poured through the tall glass walls of the human quarters. The streets outside were already alive with alien workers and strange vehicles gliding above the ground. Claire Morgan stood at the window, watching the city wake up. She could feel a knot in her stomach. Today, the council would give their answer. Behind her, Ethan and Laura got ready in silence. Laura tightened the braid in her hair, while Ethan adjusted his jacket. Their movements were slow and steady, but Claire could tell they were thinking about what might happen. A soft chime rang at the door. Claire turned and pressed a button to open it. The same small messenger from the night before stood there in a silver robe, holding another data slate. It handed the slate to Claire, bowed, and left without a word. Claire read the message aloud. "Ambassador Morgan and delegation, the council is assembled. Please proceed to the Grand Chamber immediately." Laura gave a faint smile. "Well," she said, "let's see what they decided." Claire took a deep breath and nodded. "Let's go." The walk to the chamber felt longer than before. The hallways were quiet, but they could hear faint whispers and see alien attendants watching them from the corners. Some of the attendants lowered their eyes as the humans passed. Others stared openly, their faces hard to read when they reached the great doors of the chamber. Two massive alien guards stepped aside to let them in. The doors opened slowly, and the humans stepped into the room. The chamber was full again. Every seat was taken. The air felt heavy, and the colorful lights seemed dimmer than usual. Claire walked to the center of the platform, with Ethan and Laura standing behind her, as always. The high speaker Vryn floated closer, its body glowing a soft green. Its many voices filled the chamber, calm but serious. "Ambassador Morgan," Vryn said, "the council has considered all that you have shown us, your words, your strength, your restraint. We have spoken through the night and reached a decision." Claire stood still, waiting. She could feel the eyes of every delegate on her. Vrin paused for a moment before continuing. "Humanity will be allowed to remain a member of this council. Your people will keep their place here, and you may continue to send representatives to our meetings." Soft murmurs spread through the chamber. Some sounded surprised, others annoyed. But Vryn raised one glowing arm, and the room fell quiet. "Again, however," Vryn said, "there are conditions. The council has agreed that your guards may continue to stand with you, unarmed, as is your way. But humanity must agree to share some of its training methods with the Council's security forces. We wish to learn from you, as you learn from us. Claire's lips curved into a small smile. She bowed her head slightly. We accept, she said. On behalf of humanity, we thank the Council for its wisdom, and we welcome the chance to share what we know. One of the delegates stood then, the tall horned warrior who had spoken before. His deep voice rumbled across the chamber. Humans, he said, you have earned respect, not because you are strong, but because you are careful with your strength. You know when to stop. That is rare. I will train alongside your guards. When the time comes. Claire nodded to him. It will be an honor, she said. The high speaker floated higher, its glow brightening. Then it is settled, Bryn said. Humanity will remain. This meeting is adjourned. The councillors began to file out, their robes and armor shimmering in the alien light. A few glanced at the humans as they passed, their expressions thoughtful. Some even gave small nods of respect when the chamber was nearly empty. Claire turned to Ethan and Laura. You were both incredible, she said softly. Laura gave a faint smile. We did what we had to. Ethan nodded. They'll still watch us closely, he said. But at least now they understand. Claire looked around the emptying chamber. They understand enough, she said. That's all we needed. As they walked back through the halls toward their quarters, the air felt lighter. Alien attendants still watched them, but now their faces showed something new. Curiosity instead of fear. Back in their quarters, Claire sat by the window again. She could see the city below, glowing in the soft morning light. When I first came here, she said quietly, I thought this council would never accept us. I thought they would see us as nothing but trouble. Laura sat down across from her. They still think we're trouble, she said. Just a different kind of trouble now. Claire smiled at that. Maybe that's true, she said. Ethan leaned against the wall, his arms crossed. We'll never be like them, he said. But that's not a bad thing. We showed them what humans really are, and they listened. Claire nodded. We did more than that, she said. We reminded them of something they forgot. Strength doesn't come from weapons, it comes from within. The three of them sat in silence for a while, watching the ships move through the sky outside. Later, a message came from the council. They were invited to dinner that evening, a formal celebration of their new agreement. Claire read the message and set it aside. It seems we're expected to smile and make small talk now, she said. Laura stood and stretched. I think we can handle that, she said. Ethan gave a faint smirk. As long as nobody asks us to. Dance, he said. Claire laughed quietly, the sound soft but warm. We'll take it one step at a time, she said. Just like humans always do. As the sun climbed higher over Orvos Prime, the human delegation prepared for the evening. But for the first time since arriving, Claire felt truly at ease. Humanity had stood its ground. The council had seen what they were capable of, and now they were no longer just guests. They were part of something bigger. That evening, the human delegation walked through the glowing streets of Orvos Prime toward the Great Hall. The city lights sparkled above them, and the air was full of strange scents and quiet music coming from alien shops. The streets were more crowded now. Creatures of every kind moved past, some stopping to watch the humans as they walked by. Claire Morgan led the way. Her steps were steady, but inside she felt a little nervous. Tonight was not just a celebration. It was also a test. The council had accepted humanity, but she knew not everyone trusted them yet. Behind her, Ethan and Laura followed closely. They wore the same dark uniforms as before, clean and sharp. When they reached the great hall, 2 tall guards opened the doors for them. Inside, the room glowed with soft gold light. Long tables were covered with colorful food and drink from many worlds. Alien music played in the background. Slow and smooth, council members and other delegates were already there, standing in small groups, talking quietly. Some of them looked up when the humans entered. A few nodded politely. Others simply stared. The High Speaker Vryn floated forward to greet them. Its light shimmered, a little brighter than usual. Ambassador Morgan, Vryn said. Welcome. The council is pleased you joined us. Claire bowed her head slightly. Thank you, High Speaker, she said. It is an honor to be here. Vryn motioned to a table near the center. You and your guards may sit here, it said. Claire, Ethan, and Laura took their seats. Plates of unfamiliar food were placed in front of them by silent attendants. Claire smiled faintly as she studied the strange dishes, glowing fruits, steaming breads, and something that looked like shimmering fish. Laura leaned close and whispered, Are we supposed to eat this? Claire whispered back, Just smile and try a little of everything. Ethan quietly picked up a piece of bread and took a bite. His face stayed calm. Not bad, he said softly. As the evening went on, more council members approached the human. Tablemost spoke politely, asking small questions about Earth and human customs. Claire answered every question with a calm smile. The tall horned warrior came over after a while. He stood next to the table, looking at Ethan and Laura. Humans, he said, you fought with strength and honor. I wish to train with you soon, perhaps tomorrow. Laura nodded. We would be glad to, she said. The warrior gave a rare small smile before moving on. As the night continued, the music grew louder, and more people began to laugh and talk more freely. But Claire noticed a few groups of delegates still standing. At the edges of the room, whispering and glancing at the humans. Their faces were cold and hard to read. At one point, a tall delegate with thin silver skin approached. Its eyes were dark and sharp. It bowed slightly, but did not smile. Ambassador, it said, you and your people have shown great skill. But you must know, not everyone here believes you deserve your place. Some think humans are dangerous, unpredictable. Claire looked at it steadily. We know, she said simply, but we will show them who we really are, in time. The silver-skinned delegate studied her for a moment longer, then nodded and walked away. Later, when most of the food had been eaten and the music began to fade, Vryn floated to the center of the hall and raised one glowing arm. The room grew quiet. Council members, Vryn said, and honored guests. Tonight we welcome humanity fully into our circle. They have proven their strength, their restraint, and their desire for peace. Let this night mark the beginning of a new chapter. Soft applause and murmurs filled the hall. Some delegates raised glasses or nodded. Others stayed quiet. Claire stood and bowed her head again. On behalf of humanity, she said, we thank you. We will honor the trust you have given us. After the speech, the guests began to leave. One by one, the tables emptied and the music stopped. Soon, only a few delegates and attendants remained. Claire, Ethan, and Laura stepped outside into the